For real, bro. Stop.
Stop saying. You can't supposed to say that.
What's up, y'all? Hey, welcome to another Relationship Thursday.
Wow.
We're going to give y'all a second to come on in here. My name is Youre, my aunt, and this right here is my lovely, beautiful, delectable, succulent.
Oh, really?
Sensational.
Yeah.
Scrumptious wife.
Don't give it to me on here, but then don't give it to me before here.
Y'all.
You know what I'm saying? Don't do that. That's actually faking.
My wife, she got them hands,
that's
y'all.
Faking.
She got them hands, them frisky hands. And so when I'm trying to focus on getting myself situated, oh, for real, yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Stop.
What's going on, people? Welcome to another Relationship Thursday. Again, this is Youre, this is Iana. That's who we be. And we come to you each and every Thursday. I don't even put my mic on. We come to you each and every Thursday because this is what we do. We talk about relationships. We reflect on some of the lessons that we've learned. We are therapists. We are licensed clinicians. And so we do this work, but we feel like the most informative, I don't know, thing that really helps us is the fact that we're living it.
Mm-hmm.
That I have to deal with you every day.
And
our children every day. You know what I'm saying? Like real talk, real life. You said what?
You say that like that's a bad thing.
No, I'm just saying like it's not all good and it's not all bad. It just is what it is. So we welcome you tonight as we talk about some really, really, really good stuff tonight. What are we talking about tonight, Mr. Ma'at?
Hey y'all, before we get into this, please share. But tonight we're gonna be talking about faking. Some of y'all are showing up in your relationship and not being your most authentic self. So tonight, what we're talking about is really, please stop faking. Stop faking in your relationship and be you. Be your most authentic self. Be and do you. And so we're gonna give you 7 tips to help you be you in your relationship. So again, stop faking, y'all. Stop faking. You're showing up. You're not showing your most authentic self. And so when you don't do that, then it prevents your partner from really experiencing the real you. And you really having the love that you say you want. So again, be you, and do you. And that's what we're focusing on tonight. Hey, what's up, Johnny?
And I see Diane. Yeah, drop where you're watching us from. Diane is representing from Kingston, New York. Kingston is in the house.
You got
Let
Brian,
us know
bro.
where you are
Good and
coming
faithful
from.
Brian, bro.
Hey,
Shawana Holmes. Bianca in the house.
Yes. So we know the Greensboro's in the house. Devon is representing Greensboro. Look, y'all, if you have been following us for a while or, joining in on these live streams here and there, then you know that ultimately we always get to, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? John, I see you represent Atlanta tonight. Of course, Johnny is representing Columbia, South Carolina. And so tonight is going to be just like other nights. We're focusing specifically and particularly on, are you being your most authentic self? Are you being who you really are? Are you accommodating and stepping to the side and holding back too much? Are you being a chameleon in your relationship, trying to figure out how to say the right thing and just, keep the peace, whatever it is, right? But the question is, are you faking? And when we fake, when we don't show up truly as who we are, and we don't express ourselves and really keep it 100, right? There's a way to do it. But when we don't do that, man, we set ourselves up and we set the relationship up. So tonight, that's what we're going to focus on. And there's going to be some things that may stand out to you. If it does, then you need to pay attention and you need to focus on the things that you can do differently and more effectively in your relationship to be your true and most real self. Because that's what relationships are all about. The Creator aligned you with the partner that you have or the partner that's yet to come to you so that you could give them some things that they may not get anywhere else. And so that they could, kind of bequeath to you some lessons that you might not necessarily be aware of. You know what I'm saying? I tried to be a wordsmith. Try to be a wordsmith like you. I like that. He's a wordsmith.
Hey, so as we always do, we want to get a pulse
like this
of the people right now. And again, my wife, she did mention that we're licensed therapists. We've been married now for 16 years, together for 24 years. And so, something like that, 24 years. So yes, and we have 5 children, y'all. So we do this thing, we do it every day. We live it in our relationship. And We live it with our family. We also do this thing helping other couples as well. But I want to get a pulse of the people right now. And so the question that I have for you all is, have you experienced a moment in your relationship where you wasn't living in a space of authenticity, where you weren't being you, where you weren't courageous enough to own who you are and be who you are, and you were faking? Have you experienced this in your relationship? If you have, let me get some hearts. Let me or get some likes. Let me see some. Let me get some hearts, get some likes. If you yourself, again, we want you to take ownership. If you yourself have experienced in your relationship a moment where you have been faking, where you have not been authentic, and where you have essentially just shied away from being your most real self.
Can you give an example?
Before I give an example,
have you been in that situation?
Yeah, I'm gonna raise my hand. I would give some hearts and some likes, but I'm gonna raise my hand. It's definitely. What I want you to do is this.
Okay, all right.
Or can you do it from your phone?
No, I'll do it right here.
And so, yeah. So I'm glad to see that I got some hearts coming through here in reference to people indicating that they've showed up in their relationship and haven't been their most authentic self. And so, let me think. There have been times, actually a number of times, I think that I may have mentioned before. My wife, if I haven't mentioned it, she definitely has. Mentioned this whole piece around codependency. And so, I got a problem with that, y'all. I got a problem with codependency. I have an issue with making sure I honor myself, honor my needs, and don't put myself in a position where I'm taking care of other people and honoring other people's needs and making other people feel good or better about themselves while I'm leaving myself out and putting myself in the dumps, or using it even as a controlling mechanism. And so codependency has been a significant issue for me, not just in my relationship with my wife, but in my relationship with other people as well. And so there have been times where I have not operated out of a space of authenticity because I'm trying to meet the woman's needs right here. I have not said no when I should say no. I have not, I have not drawn a line where I should have drawn a line. Mm-hmm. I have not expressed my frustration, my disappointment, my desires when I should have expressed those things. And a part of it is, again, because of the whole codependency piece. And that's me not operating out of my most authentic self. Because, again, if I'm feeling something, it's one thing to operate in your relationship from a space of placation, but it's another thing to want to honor yourself, but at the same time, too, want to please somebody else and try to balance the two, but make sure you're not being lost out in the mix. And so for me, sometimes that I would find myself in a position where I'm lost out and I'm not, honoring myself. And as a result, it impacts me. It impacts the relationship. And my wife, she doesn't necessarily know fully what to expect of me. I already did that for me, boo. So you did it for me again. So what I was saying is that you need to switch it up. So you understand? Okay. So yeah, so for me, that's been an experience that I've had, and I could give more specifics. I'm pretty sure it's probably happened during the course of this week.
During the course of this week,
it probably has. It's difficult operating from a space of authenticity in your relationship 100% of the time, because while you want to do it, you recognize that you're dealing with human beings, and so again, the objective is to move and flow in that space. But the reality is that it's challenging. It's challenging, especially if you have issues with codependency, especially if you have, a big heart and you're concerned about the other person's thoughts and feelings. But the objective, again, y'all, is to push the relationship forward. And the only way to do that is to give the best of yourself and really be true to yourself. And even if you have to, experience some agitation or irritate some people by being you, at least you're showing up and you're honoring you. And so your spouse, they chose you for a particular reason. But if you're honoring you and you're showing up correctly, at least they can judge the intentions or view the intentions of your heart and know that you're coming from a noble place. But again, if you're engaging in a relationship and you're constantly faking, who are they in a relationship with? They're not in a relationship with the real you.
That's a whole live stream right there into itself.
So you got to be you, but you got to push to be you, y'all. You got to push to be you.
I guess the question I have for those of you out there who resonate with this on some level, and even yourself, is it hard to be yourself? Is it hard? Is it difficult? And if it's difficult, what gets in the way?
Mm-hmm.
That's really what I want to know. What gets in the way? Because one of the things that's going to be important as we go through tonight's live stream is for you, everybody individually has their own barriers and their own blocks that prevent them from really expressing themselves honestly, showing up, fully as yourself in your relationship. We all have our issues, but there are particular things that impact me or make it difficult for me, or and there's some distinct things that make it difficult for you, and a whole nother set of things that make it different for somebody else, difficult for someone else. And so the question for you, you don't have to, I mean, if you already know what it's about, then drop a comment, let us know. But it's important for you to name what is the issue, what makes it difficult, because when you do that, you'll be able to begin to work on what the issues are. Christina, we see you. Welcome to the show. I like some of the comments that you all are dropping. Ariana says her spouse is judgmental. And then she had to put a whole nother comment and said, as hell, right? Don't nobody want nobody who's judgmental. So I feel you on that, my sister. Anitra says she always tries to be her most authentic self. Andre says that his wife thinks that he's controlling because her beliefs are different from mine. And that's definitely a commonality. And I love Andre's comment here. Andre says, when you love someone, you don't think about you just want to please them. Well, Andre, that's not necessarily so, but I understand it. But there are people who kind of get into that space, but just recognize that everyone doesn't get into that space, and that's not a healthy space to be in. You know what I mean? It's really not. You really want to be in a balanced place where you are able to.
I feel like I'm sitting like with my arms crossed.
You're able to give to your partner, because we are supposed to be sacrificing. We are supposed to push ourselves to the side a bit and pay attention to the relationship, not just our own individual agendas and needs. But at the same time, you got to make sure that you're getting, what you need. You got to make sure that you express yourself honestly. And for many of us, it's difficult. We come to the relationship with that difficulty, not knowing how to articulate our honest truth.
Yeah. And so let me just say this, y'all. So I mentioned a second ago that I've struggled with this on a number of levels, especially as it pertains to codependency and the interconnectedness that we have in our relationship, and how, maybe even unhealthily enmeshed that we find ourselves, and not just in our relationship, but even in our relationship with our children. Like, I found it difficult for a time period until I just recently started doing it, but just telling my wife and my children, like, don't call me, or I'm not going to answer the phone when I go running.
Really, baby?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've always felt like I have to always be available. I have to always be accessible. Like, I felt some sort of way about having that time and space to myself. And it's not because my wife made me feel any sort of way, but it's really all about me and me thinking that I have to be in a mix, and I have to be omnipresent and overly involved in everything. And so I would always make myself accessible. And so, when I would go running, I'm answering the phone. I'm checking text messages, which, is, again, supposed to be my space and my time. I was doing that, yeah, but then I stopped.
You don't be answering the phone.
What did I just say?
I'm saying in general, you don't answer the phone.
But what did I just say? When I'm going running and stuff, I would answer the phone, but I stopped doing that.
Oh.
And I stopped doing that because I needed that space for myself. And I feel good. I feel liberated.
Did you try to just get me told right there? Or what did I say?
I'm sorry.
I'm just saying in general. I mean, it's a surprise to me to hear that, because in general you don't answer the phone.
It's not that I'm in general I don't answer the phone.
No, you really don't.
What I'm saying is that being aware that the phone is ringing, and being aware that you all are calling, and intentionally not answering it is different than not being aware that you're calling and not answering. So I'm not aware that you're calling. So your issue with me is, why can't you have your ringer on, or why can't you have your phone on vibrate? Why can't you feel your phone?
That's a whole nother conversation, huh?
That's different. And so what I'm saying to you is that, and what I'm saying to y'all is that recently what I decided to do was, like, even if I'm aware that they're probably calling me, I'm not picking up. And I
really don't call you.
But if it ain't you, it's these Bowmans running around, they call. Somebody bugging me and blowing on my phone when I'm running. So I'm deciding not to answer the phone, and I'm taking care of myself. All right, y'all. So we're gonna go ahead and shift into what it means to really operate from your most authentic self in your relationship, and honor you and show up as the real you. And I'm glad that I got a whole bunch of hearts and likes when we asked the question about whether or not you struggle with that. It's a common thing. Don't feel bad. Don't beat yourself up about it. Just recognize that it's real and we're all dealing with it. All right. So number one, y'all. So what you want to do to show up as your most authentic self is you want to examine past traumas, past pains, past hurts, and you want to reframe that experience and reframe it in such a way where you're not defined by the experience. And so a lot of times the reason why we're showing up is because we're living our life through a narrative that's keeping us hostage, that's holding us bound. And so we're viewing ourselves as a victim of sexual assault. We're viewing ourselves as a victim of somebody who, was a perpetrator of infidelity or impacted us in such a way that made us feel negative about our experience in a relationship. We're viewing ourselves through a narrative, through a lens that makes us feel less than. And so a part of the way in which you can reshape and reframe your perspective and not find yourself in a position where you're holding yourself hostage is that you have the capacity to choose and to be different and recognize that one experience is an isolated experience and it doesn't shape who you are as a person today. It's not the complete definition, the complete story of which shapes you to become who you are today. And so instead of looking at that one experience and saying, I am a victim based off of what occurred to me, look at the rest of your experiences and reframe your experience even in that situation and take your power back. It's about taking your power back and reframing your narrative so that you don't see yourself as a victim, but more so you see yourself as a person who's empowered based off of other experiences that you may have had in your life.
And the thing I think is important for those listening to really consider, if this is something that resonates with you on some level, is that most of the time, you may not be calling yourself a victim. You don't even necessarily see yourself that way. You're not trying to be a victim, right? But what you're trying to do is consciously or unconsciously protect yourself, keep yourself from a place of being hurt. And the thing you have to recognize and realize is that this is a narrative. Everybody carries a narrative. And so any kind of past hurt or difficulty that you've experienced, if you allow it to color the lens of your entire being, then there's so much that you miss, that you don't get, and that you will overlook, and not be able to be available to in your relationship, because everything comes through that lens. So what my husband is talking about is really taking back your power. It's about restoring your freedom, like being able to show up authentically as yourself, not this new person who's damaged or hurt or who got issues, right? But being able to step into who you are. And you cannot do that without looking back and saying, you know what, some things have happened to me. There's some things I've experienced in a past relationship, and it really effed me up. You know what I'm saying? And so I just want to be real about that. But I am at the same time attempting to move into a place where I am not completely defined by that. So I think that's really important. I think that's really important. So number two, if you're just joining us, we're talking tonight about being your most authentic self in your relationship. How do you show up as your most authentic self, like totally being you and not finding yourself getting lost in the sauce, all for this relationship?
And if you have not already shared, I know we had a number of people who have shared. Please go ahead and share, y'all. We really appreciate the love, the energy, you sharing the message, because the more people hear it, the more people could possibly be helped.
So take a risk and just tell the truth about what you think about a given situation, about your partner, about how you experience them. This is number two. Take a risk and share just what you think. If you were sitting with your friend, your boy, your girl, whatever, y'all was having lunch, you were at happy hour, whatever, and they was talking to you about a situation, you would more than likely just kind of, let it roll, right? When we get with our partners sometimes, because we're concerned about how they might receive what we're saying, we don't want an argument to come about. We don't want them to think that we don't understand what they're dealing with, right? Then we start to, really taint and temper our words. We hold back, right? But the reality, again, as I said in the beginning, is that I was drawn to Ayize and he was drawn to me for some very particular reasons. You understand what I'm saying? Like, there's some things that he needs to learn that he can only get from me. There's some things that I need to learn that I can only get from him. And so when you are not authentic and you don't say what you really see, you don't put out in the atmosphere to your partner what you really are experiencing. And in some way, you think it's all right and it's okay because you're trying to protect them. Yeah, something going on, Lauren, with our daggone camera. I'm waiting until we get a
we got to keep on tapping.
We get to get a new situation soon. We're getting a new situation this month. So I don't know what's going on with it, but bear with us. But when you do that, and it's under the guise of, I'm trying to protect him or her, I don't want it to, I know that they dealing with a lot, their mommy wasn't there for them, right? You know the story, right? Everybody has a narrative that they come with. Like, you do a disservice to your partner because you need to help them to see themselves through a lens that is not just colored by whatever experience that they're having. They need to understand that, like, dude, like, you kind of always be like, tripping off of this particular thing, or you seem to be really sensitive about this particular area. And who best to hear it from than you? Who best to hear it from than you? Because you should, and more than likely, you will know some of the nuances about them, their personality, some of the things that they've been through. But at the same time, you want to be able to challenge them. And you will not be able to challenge them if you do not speak the truth. So stop holding back and take a risk and tell your partner how you experience them. And the best motivator or prompter, PROMPTER, or incentive for that is not to do it because you're trying to get them told or because you want them to learn a lesson. It's to do it because you need to let them know how they're impacting you, because your partner impacts you and you impact your partner. But when you come from, like, this is what it feels like to me, this is how I'm experiencing you, you tend to kind of do this in these types of situations, then and only then will your partner be able to hear you. If you're just trying to, like, get them, you try and teach them and get them. No, don't nobody want that, right? So that should not be the motivator. The motivator should be really, again, trying to get your voice out so that you are heard.
So this is really a critical one, y'all, because it requires you to tread lightly. And so essentially what we're saying is that you want to take a risk and be vulnerable and express what some of your discontent is around your relationship and with your spouse specifically. And so, when you do that, the reason why it requires you to tread lightly is because you walk a fine line between being real, honest, and open and being judgmental. And so even on this live stream tonight,
that's a good point.
We've seen a number of comments where people have said that their spouse is judgmental. And so that prevents them from being authentic. And so you don't want to allow the fear of judgment to prevent you from being authentic. And it's not to say that when you express yourself that you have to be judgmental. But what it is to say is that it's important that you do express what it is that you're thinking and feeling and how you're impacted in a relationship, but you do it in a sensitive and compassionate way. And so, there's a difference between saying that, you fucked up, you wrong, you some ish, right. you coming up short, you a bitch ass nigga. I mean, that type of stuff.
Please don't say that.
It's I mean, you're a deadbeat father. I mean, these are terms that we hear. These are things that we hear. And so it's different from saying that and then approaching your man or approaching your woman and coming at them from an angle where you're acknowledging the fact that, listen, baby, I've been doing some thinking. I'm feeling some sort of way and I'm really stressed out. I'm hurt. I'm befuddled. I'm at my wit's end and I'm really struggling with this. I love you. I care about you. I want you. I need you. Men like to hear that. Men like to hear that they're needed. Women like to hear that they're needed as well, too. And so I know that some of the words that I'm using right now, y'all probably will be using verbatim. So I'm being extremely cautious in what I'm saying. But every situation is different. But again, you want to lift up the fact that you're acknowledging how you've been impacted by a situation, but you're also acknowledging and lifting up and elevating the need for his or her participation in the process of elevating the relationship as well. And so it's one thing to say I'm hurt, but then it's another thing to say, baby, can you help me while I'm hurting? Mm-hmm. Can you help me? Can you help heal me? Can we heal together? And so again, what most partners want is that They want to feel like they're wanted. And so when you're requesting that, you get some assistance from your spouse, it's going to make them feel a whole lot better and more receptive to hearing what it is that you have to say.
Yeah, yeah. So when you are really being intentional about that in terms of your approach and being sensitive and that kind of thing, there will be partners who, you know, of yours, right? Partners of yours, but your boo may still be sensitive. Mm-hmm. They may still not want to hear what you got to say. Mm-hmm. So the way to really be clear about what you're doing and if you're coming from the right place is to really be, as my husband said, intentional about your words. Sometimes though, you have to, you know, I like to get real specific. So if Ayize is telling me I'm coming to him a certain type of way, then I'm like, well, tell me exactly what it is that I did or that I said, or what is it that because if I'm being intentional, I'm like, I don't know if this is really me, or if you just don't want to hear nothing I got to say. It don't matter what tone I take. It don't matter what I do. You ain't really trying to hear it. You ain't here for it. You know what I'm saying? So be mindful that your partner at times will just not be here for it. And so that's why it's important to get comfortable in your own skin. In order to be yourself, you have to be comfortable in your own skin, being able to have your own voice and not look for the approval of your partner. And I have to say that that's been something that I've had to work on over time because, you know, you understand what I'm saying when I say, if my boo ain't right, I don't feel right. If he not right with me, I'm off. If we not
you said that
clicking, then I feel down. He upset, I'm upset. And so the challenge for us as individuals, and I don't know if that's a woman thing more so than men. I don't know. You can't find. I don't know. Yeah, everything is new on this phone. I'm not sure, but the challenge is to get comfortable and allow yourself to be able to express what you feel. You know, you may have some doubts, some self-critical thoughts, right? Allow those things to naturally dissipate. Any kind of concerns you have about whether or not I'm showing up the right way or I'm doing the right thing, or, you know, I'm confused and you just want things to be okay again, that stuff will naturally dissipate. It will go away. So you've got to, you know, part of my prayer this morning in my morning devotion time was really about God working with me to increase my mental fortitude and endurance. You know, so because I'm a very sensitive person, but like help me with my emotional and mental fortitude and endurance, because I can just kind of be on a roller coaster sometimes, and I need to get my weight up when it comes to my fortitude, that if my husband's not giving me what I'm looking for, what I feel like I need in the moment, that I can give it to myself, and that I can stop comparing, you know, myself to other people, to what is it, you know, what did he say this time, that time, right? So you have to be willing to know that when you put yourself out there and you share authentically what, you're experiencing and how you're experiencing your partner, they may not give you what you want. They may not give you what you need. But guess what? Again, you are divinely attracted to and with the partner, if you're with the right person, right, to the partner that you have. And so it's not always the end goal. It's not always the end goal for things to be happy. Well, it ain't always the end goal for things y'all to be on one accord in that particular situation. Sometimes you're supposed to be obedient and drop what it is you're supposed to drop in that conversation, or they're supposed to give you what it is they're supposed to give you. And that's that. That's that. And you have to be able to work on. There's things that Ayize and I have talked about 5 million times, it feels like. You know, there's certain issues in the relationship that we've come back up against over and over again. And every time we come back to that situation or that area, you know, we may slightly change from year to year, but we still kind of in the same general areas. And, you know, we working that thing through. I'm being who I am, and he's being who he is. And we are being open to the process of being impacted and influenced. But it's a process. It ain't overnight. It ain't even over 1 or 2 years. Like it's like this for the long haul. This is how God is using us to shape and influence and impact each other for the long haul. And so you've got to understand that if that's really the divine design of relationships, then what are you holding back And what are you, doing a disservice to in your partner and in your relationship when you don't even put it out there. You don't even share what you're supposed to share because you want everything to be okay. So
okay.
you got to be mindful about that.
Yeah.
You got to be mindful about that. But that's not to take away from what you said in terms of approach.
Yeah.
Approach is very important, but you have to understand that even when you come with a very intentional approach, sometimes you might do that with me. I'll be like, all right, whatever. So I do that with you. You're like, you don't say nothing. You know what I mean? I might not get what I'm looking for, right? So do what you need to do, as you show up authentically in a relationship. And sometimes that just has to be enough.
All right, so number 3, y'all. Number 3, whose life are you living? Whose life are you living? So in order to show up authentically in your relationship, it's important that you recognize and you honor the fact that you have certain expectations for yourself. So are you trying to meet your expectations, or are you trying to meet the expectations of other people? So essentially what I'm asking is, are you living other people's life, or are you living your life? One of the things that prevents us from showing up authentically in our relationship is, one of the things that prevents us from showing up authentically in our relationship is the fact that we're trying to accommodate, trying to appease, trying to live the life that other people say that we should live. When the reality is that in order for us to be and do our best selves, we got to show up as ourselves. We got to show up as who we were divinely created to be. And so again, you want to make sure that you establish and you're clear about your own expectations, and you're trying to meet those versus trying to meet the expectations of everybody else.
Yeah, that's big. That's big. All right, if you're just joining us, I want you to make sure that you please share this video, that you share with other people, and that you drop a comment and just talk about in your comments where you find challenges being your most authentic self. It may not even be that you talk about it in terms of the relationship. It may be in other ways, because the things that we struggle with oftentimes, they're not just in the relationship, they transfer to other places and other spaces. But tonight we're talking about how to be your most authentic self in your relationship, not how not to lose yourself, and to do what you're divinely assigned to do, which is to be a help to your partner and to show up being yourself. To be who you are, because when you do anything other than that, then you are a disservice not only to your partner, but to your relationship. So that's what we're talking about tonight. And we want you to share the video and give us some comments so that we can continue to grow together. I love, hey, Shaifa. Hey, sis, I see you. Welcome. I haven't connected in a minute. Come on over to the Art of Overcoming too and connect over there. What's going on? I like what Lachina, girl, tell me how to pronounce it, says here, Sunshine. She says, I have to work on my approach really bad. I'm too blunt and honest. Honey, I know all about it. So we have to pay attention to that. Same thing with Nita. Nita, let me just shout Nita Janelle out real quick. Nita also says that she needs to work on her approach. But guess where Nita is going to be? Nita is going to be at the Courageous Couples Retreat in October. In October, we are doing a retreat with our church, and we are very excited about it. Union Temple Baptist Church. Whoop, whoop, whoop. We are doing a retreat in wonderful Pennsylvania. You can go to, what's the website?
CourageousCouplesRetreat.com.
CourageousCouplesRetreat.com. And the retreat actually is the Courage to Connect. It's about the courage to connect. That's happening in October 25th to the 27th. We have a few spots left. I think like 5 spots left. And it's going to be beautiful on the grounds of the Aquaba Mansion in Pennsylvania. It's a Black-owned mansion. And yes, Nita, you are in that thing, honey. And we are really excited about it because it's going to be 14 couples coming together. And we're going to have some really good intentional time. So please check out CourageousCouplesRetreat.com. If you have any questions about it in terms of the payment and putting your deposit down, you can reach out to us here on Facebook. Or you
Only
can
5 slots left, y'all. Only 5 slots left.
at info at the letter B intentional.com. We will drop the links at the end of this live stream.
I already put the links in there.
Oh, you already did it. It's already there for you. Look, you good. Yes. All right.
All right. So as we said, please share if you haven't already done so. So number 4, y'all. Number 4. So in order for you to show up authentically in your relationship, you know, it's important that you honor your natural talents, your natural gifts, your common sense, your emotional intelligence, and you honor you to the fullest of who you are. And so I'm saying this because, you know, I recently, when I'm doing my runs, y'all, I'm always listening to motivational audios. And one thing stood out to me, baby, when I was running. It said that somebody said this. I'm not sure who it was, but and I'm listening to these motivational speeches over different soundtracks. So it helps push me to be able to tackle the miles that I'm tackling. So for y'all that don't know, let me just rewind real quick. So last year, I started a journey where I was dissatisfied and just frustrated with myself in terms of like where I was weight wise and just how I was feeling about myself, you know, how I was looking and et cetera, et cetera. And so I started working out. I participated in a Savage race last September, but during that time period in preparation for the Savage race, I started running. I went back to my old high school, one of my old high schools, Friendly High School, and started running around the track. There's a video of me doing 2 miles, or after I did 2 miles. I was struggling, y'all, struggling to get through the 2 miles, but I felt so good when I accomplished that 2 miles. I was elated. I was excited. I was happy. And, you know, I was like, wow, you know, I hadn't done this in a long time, you know, probably since college. I hadn't run 2 miles. And so I was psyched for myself and feeling good. And so even though I struggled through it, I kept on pushing. And so I've been pushing and pushing and pushing. And
it's almost been a year. Has it been a year?
Yeah, it's been about a year. No, I hadn't been over a year. Yeah, just about a year. But I've been pushing, y'all. And so, you know, during the course of this year, within the past month or so, I mean, like for instance, this week right here, I've been doing 10-mile days, running 10-mile days. So that might look like 7 miles one round, and then 3 miles the next, or 5 miles one time, and then 5 miles the next. And then probably about 2 weeks ago, I ran 15 miles. And so, you know, I just kept on pushing. And so I'm lifting this up because it's a process. It's a process for you to live in your most authentic self and do what it is that you do. And so to get back to the quote that I was listening to as I was running, one of the things that stood out to me was that they said that, you know, singers sing, dancers dance, runners run, speakers speak, and you can go artists paint or painters paint. And so, and on and on and on and on. And so to me, what that made me think is that, and so when we reference living your most authentic self or your most authentic life, it's really you honoring your natural talents. And if there's something that you're doing or that you're not doing in your relationship, not doing in your life because of your partner, or more specifically because of you being afraid to do it based off of you being in a relationship with your partner, then you need to do that thing.
Yeah.
You know, so if you're a dancer, dance. If you're a singer, sing. If you're an artist, do art. If you're a runner, run. If you're a speaker, speak. If you
to your partner,
yes. If you're a healer, heal.
Yeah.
Do that and be your most authentic self in your relationship. And so your partner should honor that experience or that gift within you. And if they don't, still do it anyway.
Yeah. I like what Brian has said over here. Brian he gave some kudos. He said, good stuff, bro. But you know, when we talk about our approach and how we come at our partner, Brian, you bring up a very good point. He said approach is important, but receiving is just as important. Yes, it's very important to be a good receiver and to listen. But here's the little tidbit for you. When you are the one who is coming with the information, with the insight, with the feedback, with how you're experiencing your partner, it is not your responsibility to monitor the reception. It's not your responsibility to monitor how your partner is receiving you. Oh my. You are there in this relationship and in this particular space. You are tasked with, I got some in my eye, you are tasked with giving feedback, right? And you got to be able to give that in as sensitive a way as you know how to, while you don't sugarcoat stuff, you know what I'm saying? And at the same time, you're mindful of who your partner is and you're looking at timing and tone and all of that stuff, right? So that's a lot to be responsible for. If you're doing that and you're also looking at how well they're receiving it or not receiving it, you're kind of out of your lane. You can give feedback about how you experience your partner in terms of how they receive things from you. But when you're giving feedback in general about something else, that's all you need to be concerned with. Look, God works with each of us. This is my belief. And we as individuals, we start to pay attention to things, and we work with things, and we get it in our spirit. We digest it. It takes us a minute. Our ego has to come down, right? And we have to kind of open up a bit. That thing happens over time. What a lot of times gets in the way and prevents our partners from really being able to receive things is that we're trying to push it. Like, did you hear that? Do you understand what I'm saying? What is it that you don't understand? Did you get what I said? You know what I'm saying? Like, we're trying to push it because we want them to, like, give me some feedback. Give me some level of reward, emotional reward that indicates to me that you are getting what I'm giving. And what I want to suggest to all of us tonight is that when we do that, you actually slow up the process of reception. See, because when I drop some jewels up in here, Nita, when I drop some jewels up in here, or my husband drops it, and then he just does that, and it's like, let's move on. Or I'm like, you ready to watch that movie, right? And I move on. I sit with that thing completely differently. My husband takes it in, I do feel, in a much more effective and thorough way. But when I drop something and then I try to ram it, like, hey, are you listening? Are you receiving? Whatever. And I'm not saying, Bryant, that you're saying this, right? That you're necessarily trying to ram it down your partner's throat. Nobody receives that. So just remember that receiving it is important, but we've got to be focused on our role in the moment when we're in the middle of giving feedback. What is my role? What is it that I'm to do? Let me focus on that. And even though I'm getting irritated because it seems like they're not really paying attention to me, I'm not even going to focus on that at this moment. I'm just going to do my part and then back up, give some time. Let me say this real quick. When I used to work in a school, a non-public special education school for young teenage boys, high school boys who had emotional disturbance and that kind of thing, we used to have to we used to do restraints. So doing restraints, like we would, if the kid got too, off the hook, we would have to put them in a restraint. So in our training, a lot of times we would go over this particular part of the training of how to actually put a child in a safe restraint. And when we would do that, then at the very end, we would also go over like, hey, if you're feeling threatened, or if a kid is really getting about, these kids be big, these are all boys, right? You have to always, we would always like do the backup, like 1, 2, 3, back up. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, they starting to get elevated. What's your first go-to? 1, 2, 3. Give them some time and space. You know what I'm saying? Boo. Good. Excuse me. Don't try to do something that, because before this, I was giving you all kind of energy and you wasn't feeling it. You said what you said?
I was trying to get the live stream started.
You said I'm not in the mood.
I was trying to get the live stream.
I just want to remind you, that's what you said.
Yeah, but when you talk about backing
you need to learn how to flirt before the live stream.
When you talk about backing it up, I'm with you now.
Nah. So anyway, let me keep with the lesson. So 1, 2, 3. So that's the go-to. They're getting elevated. Look at your space. Are you all up in their grill? This is what, and then eventually, when I became the clinical director, this is what I taught. Are you, give them some space. So the same thing goes for our partner. Pay attention to what you're there to do and let other people be responsible for their part. So if they're there and they need to receive it, that's fine. But 1, 2, 3, how can you back up all of them? Emotionally, with your words, physically, all of that. Pay attention. Pay attention, because when you do that, magically, somehow, we've said this before, dang, like she seemed like she was feeling me. Why? Because you were focused on your part. Right. He seemed like he was a little more open. Yeah, because you was focused on your part. Just focus on your part. And I promise you, your partner will see that. And they will do something a little bit different. Even if it's just a little bit. Just a little bit. All right. If you're just joining us, what number is this?
Number 5.
This is number, how many do you have?
We're going to number 5. We got 7.
Whew, Lord, we'll be talking a lot.
Hey, Brian asked a really good question.
If you're just joining us, we're talking tonight about how you can show up as your most authentic self in your relationship. Make sure that you don't get lost in the sauce, that you pay attention to the fact that it's not just about making your partner happy and making everything all good. You do need to be mindful of how you approach certain things in certain situations, and you do need to be mindful of your tone and your timing and all that. But your job is not to make them feel good. That's not your job. It's not my job to make him feel good. It's not his job to coddle me and make me feel okay. And a lot of times we think that because, that's my boo. You know what I'm saying? I want him to be all right. But I have to get disciplined at times. He has to get disciplined and detached from me at times and say, I'm here because God wants me, I'm speaking from my own perspective, to speak the truth. To just tell the truth as I see it and as I experience it. And when I do that, it seems like she get real mad. That's not your business. You can do that gently, respectfully, and then 1, 2, 3, back up and give them some space. If you're just joining us, it's not too late to share. Share, because I'm telling you, all of us can benefit from being our most authentic self. And I don't know why this brother is looking at me sideways right now, but I'm just saying it's a beautiful thing. Is it not?
It really is, babe.
Why are you acting like that?
It really is.
What are you thinking?
So
what are you doing?
So Brian, bro, he asked the question. He said, can I ask why is it a little bit more easier to have a heart-to-heart with friends or family members, but it's harder with the person you're in love with?
Oh, I love that question. Let's repeat that. Can I ask why is it a little more easier to have a heart-to-heart with friends or family members, but it's harder with the person you're in love with? My goodness. Oh. So I'm gonna let my husband answer. I just want to say this real quick because you just don't want to be hurt. Because I love you, and I want to, what I'm saying, like there's no other kind of relationship like this one. I mean, I can sit with this friend and rap to him easily, but I got another friend around the corner, and a friend from back in the day, and I got a coworker at work, and I got my mama over there, and I got my auntie over there, right? Everybody kind of occupying a similar space, but my goodness, this one right here. There's no other person that occupies the space that my husband occupies for me. And as much as, I might perpetrate a little bit sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes I got a little bit of a smart mouth. Sometimes. As much as I might do that, and that might be even a way to kind of deflect and kind of put energy out there. Like, it's not that, I'm not tripping. I am tripping, and so I just think that, it's the essence of vulnerability. To be in committed, connected relationship gives you the opportunity, Bryant, to be as vulnerable as you know how to be. When I'm vulnerable, that means my heart is wide open and you can just ever so gently touch me and I might, oh, that hurts, right? And so it just feels, at least for me, it feels so dangerous sometimes, right? And I remember it feeling dangerous early on in our relationship because I wasn't used to it. And even now at different times, depending on the scenario or the situation, it can feel really funky. Like, this is uncomfortable. I just want to shut down and, keep myself covered up. But the reality is that the more you get into the practice of opening yourself up with your partner, the one who you really love and who is your boo, the better you're going to be.
So, Brian, it's because you have so much invested. It's because you're risking so much. It's because it's requiring so much vulnerability of you to really operate in the space of authenticity. But what I will say is that in addition to that it's also okay. And so I want to normalize what you're experiencing and what you may feel in reference to feeling more comfortable speaking with other people outside of your relationship about difficult issues. Especially from an African-centered perspective, one thing that we elevate and we lift up is that there's value in community. And so it's not necessarily a bad thing, especially if you're going to counsel that's mature enough, that's responsible enough to give you information that can edify your relationship. So I'm not talking about, Joe Blow in the corner that ain't got no relationship himself. I'm not talking about, your auntie and them who, are struggling to be in a relationship and can't maintain relationships with their men. What I'm speaking about is people who are in healthy relationships. A part of the African Center perspective is to engage and consult with community, to receive advice and to be able to divulge whatever it is that you have going on within you so that you can get the necessary recommendations, the necessary push, the necessary encouragement to step in the direction that you need to step. And so it's not a bad thing that you're more comfortable at this particular point in place in time to engage other people, with some of the relationship difficulties that you may have. But ultimately, you do want to get to a space where the person that you're willing to be vulnerable with and ultimately can connect with on that higher level is your spouse. It does take a certain level of maturation to be able to ascend to that level where you engage your spouse and you're able to process through things that are difficult. However, again, if you're engaging other people outside in the community, as long as they're in a healthy space and they're able to give you sound perspective from a right mind, then the reality is that, again, you're getting the advice and it's helping to propel your relationship in the right direction.
Listen to this. I just found this, what's this called? A quote. Truth is like a surgery. It hurts, but cures. Lying is like a painkiller. It gives instant relief, but has side effects forever. Oh, truth is like a surgery, but it hurts, but it cures. Lie is like a painkiller. It gives instant relief, but has side effects forever. So, at the end of the day, it does hurt. It's uncomfortable for us to speak our truth, but we have to do what we have to do. If you're just joining us, we are on number 7. It's the last one.
We're on number 5, boo.
The hell? We're going to go on to number 6, though.
I'm about to go to number 5.
Nah, but we're going to number 6. Ain't we? What number we on, y'all?
We're on number 5, boo. I'm telling you.
We're talking tonight about being your most authentic self, about showing up as who you are. You understand? You don't want to be in a relationship and you're so in love that you figure out how to do everything that you can to make your partner happy and you want everything to be okay. And meanwhile, you just growing some resentment on the inside because you're not getting your needs met and you're not able to speak the truth. You are responsible for being your most authentic self. No one else is responsible for that. So one of the ways that you would actually be able to know, this is just one that I think is important. This is not necessarily a tip for how to be your most authentic self, but this is a call to action for all my people pleasers.
So we're supposed to be doing tips, but are you giving something else outside of I
am.
We're trying to get to number 7. We ain't gonna never get to
this
7.
This is number 6.
This is number 5.
I'm sorry. No, we're going into number 6.
No, we're going to number 5.
This is ridiculous. We're going into number 5. This is still number 5.
All right.
So number 5 is for all my people pleasers out there. If you are a people pleaser, if you are someone who really has a hard time being truthful and you want other people to be okay. If anybody's ever told you this in your life, if you have heard this in some, shape, form, or fashion in the past, then more than likely you do this in your relationship. Inauthentic people are people pleasers. And sometimes we like to say, I'm a people pleaser. I just want other people to be okay. And I want everybody to be straight. And I just like to take care of other people, right? Because it's a noble thing. And so we get to see ourselves through the lens of I'm trying to make sure everything is all right and everybody is okay. That's a safe lens to see ourselves through. But the challenging lens to see ourselves through is this, that we're not really real. We don't really represent ourselves, and perhaps we don't even know ourselves because you are not willing to put forward what you need to put forward because you're just trying to figure out how to please everybody else. If you're a people pleaser, you just need to understand that you need to really work on finding your voice, spreading that voice, and you can do that even in your relationship. Some of y'all out there know what I'm talking. There's so many people pleasers. And you know what? some of us are people pleasers in certain areas, right? Like we're in certain situations or certain contexts and not in others. So wherever you find that, but oftentimes if we're doing it one place, we are doing it in other places. You need to really challenge it. You need to really challenge it. So don't be a people pleaser with your spouse. Oh, it's so hard though sometimes. It's so heavy to push back. Because what am I supposed to do? If you know, like, you know, one of our children, sometimes their answer, a lot of times when we're asking them for their opinion about things, like, it doesn't matter. You know, I'm okay with whatever everybody else wants. I don't know. You pick it for me, right? Like, you know, some of us come into the world just based on when you were born, right? Like, it's just your personality. It's just your makeup, you know, like, it's just how you flow. And so we challenge that child with, no, give us what you want. No, you don't care. And I believe the child. You know, I'm not trying to say he or she, right? But I believe the child. The child doesn't really, you know, they really like, I don't care, right? But that is something that you have to push back against, and you have to dig deep and say, no, like, what is your opinion, and what do you think? And so these are things that sometimes are very difficult to push back against in terms of pushing back against ourselves. But if you are a people pleaser, you're going to have to do some intentional work with that. And I would encourage you to come on over to The Art of Overcoming with Iyanla Ma'at, because that's a place for my sisters. My sisters on Facebook, look it up, The Art of Overcoming with Iyanla Ma'at. I have that show on WPFW 89.3 FM every Monday at 1 o'clock. But I also have the Facebook group. We have a sister circle that meets once a month right here in the DC metro area. Lots of things that you can do as an individual to grow yourself so that you can be the best person you need to be in your relationship. There's so many opportunities, but the question is, are you taking advantage of them? So come on. The Art of Overcoming with Iyanla Ma'at. Check it out on Facebook. All right, what's the next one? That was number 5.
So number 6. Well, let me just respond to Brian, bro, real quick. He says that, you know, I was asking if we decide to walk this life together daily, we should be able to move together. I can tell my brother he's wrong and we still talk, but husband and wife will not talk sometimes for days. And so, Brian, bro, let me just say this, that, you know, it's really a part of the process. And so while you can tell your brother that he's wrong and y'all talk, the reality is that you can have that same experience with your spouse as well. It's a process to get to that space. So initially she may be like, I'm not trying to talk with you. And that's okay. But again, you know, as time progresses, eventually, you know, based off of what you're sharing and how you're sharing it with her, she should arrive at a space, and you all should arrive at a space where you all are willing to or able to have that conversation and still continue to move forward and not have such distance for days between the two of you. But it's a process. It really is a process. And then I would also say, too, depending upon how your brother is impacted by what you share, you also run the risk of the possibility that he may not talk to you for days or weeks or months either. So, you know, you really can't compare the two because there's different investment in a relationship. And so if you're impacting him the same way you're impacting your spouse, there is that possibility that he may pull back, he may withdraw for days as well. Again, but I think that there may be some, you know, imbalance in terms of how each of them are impacted in a relationship based off of what you share. But in order for you to get to a space of, you know, passing by the whole days of quietude and non-engagement, I think that it's important that you do share in going through the process of experiencing the days of non-engagement, but continuing to press forward, the time decreases.
Okay.
It decreases.
And the time decreases. And Brian, I want you and everybody else listening to pay attention to this. My husband and I we're not in that space anymore where we will go for long periods of time without talking. Every now and then he wants to get special. And you know, and wants me to pursue him extra long. Because I think he's kind of like, even if it's unconscious, on payback from when he used to have to pursue me back in the day, you know what I'm saying? But you know, because you like it a little bit. Because that just, I mean, that's kind of was his role. And now he like, you come follow me. It will not happen just naturally, Brian. Somebody has to model for their partner what it is that needs to happen. It's not going to just naturally happen where, you know, you all will start to talk and engage each other, even in the midst of difficulty, just by default. Somebody got to do it. Somebody got to, you know, press forward, even in the midst of difficulty, you know, and be intentional about that. So I guess what I always say to people is whoever has the most insight is obligated to use it. So Bryant or whomever is listening, that this resonates with, if you have the most insight, you're obligated to use it. And then you need to pursue your partner. Yeah. Even when they be in a butt. You need to speak to them to say, hey, we need to come back together. We need to have a conversation. I need to share with you how I'm feeling. We can't just keep rolling like this. This isn't okay with me, right? And you are just constantly putting yourself out there, being vulnerable, right? They may not give you the energy you're looking for, and you're kind of putting yourself out there. Yeah, somebody got to do it. It used to be him all the time, but all the while he was modeling for me what it is that is needed in a good, strong, solid relationship. And he taught me by being persistent. And by doing that, now I know without any doubt that we have what's needed to be able to push through. And so somebody's got to take the risk. Somebody got to do it. So why not be you? Why not? Why not be you?
All right, y'all. So number 6. Number
7. This is number 7, babe. Ain't it?
No, it's number 6. Number 6. So, when it comes to you being in a relationship, it's important that you recognize that if you find yourself in a space where you're being hated on, recognize that your hate that you're experiencing, use it as validation that you're on the right path. And so again, to move or acknowledge that you're operating from a space of authenticity, it's important for you to know that, if you're rubbing some people the wrong way, then that's okay. It's okay that you're rubbing some people the wrong way because you're doing you. You're being you. And so that's an indicator that you're not being fake. If you're constantly finding yourself in a space where everybody, or you're always in agreement with everybody, then that doesn't mean that you're operating from a space of authenticity. Again, you need to honor the voice within, honor the voice of the genuine. And when you do that, what happens is that sometimes people are going to hate on you. So if you're singing the song that you need to sing, if you're dancing the dance that you need to dance, some people are not going to like it. And that's perfectly okay. And so when you're being your most authentic self in your relationship, your spouse ain't going to necessarily feel everything that you're saying or doing. And that's absolutely okay too. It's okay for y'all to experience disagreement. It's okay for y'all to experience periods of beef. It's absolutely normal and it's okay. But again, it's important that you honor your voice and you lift it up. You place it on the table and you say that this is who I am. This is what I want. This is what I need. And in doing that, then what you recognize and what your partner will eventually recognize is that, okay, I got to honor and I got to respect this. Because my spouse is saying that this is what he or she wants. This is what he or she needs. And so again, if that's rubbing them the wrong way, so what? So be it. You all can communicate. You all can converse around that. But again, it's important that you at least put that on the table so that if it ruffles some feathers, then you all can begin to straighten those things out together. Number 7.
He's gonna be like, and that was good. I was in my student seat.
You were?
I was in my student seat. I was just listening. So, here we are on number 7, and we're getting ready to close out for the evening. We are so happy that you all hung in there with us. It's not too late for you to share as we are talking tonight about how to be your most authentic self and not get lost in the sauce in your relationship. It's very, very important. I want you to know that number 7 is so important. It's so important. It's not the most important, but it's very important for all of you who are listening tonight. And what is it that I want to tell you? What I want you to understand, that's loud. What I want you to understand is this. There are particular challenges that you're all going to have. We're all going to have with being authentic, with being all that we're supposed to be. That comes with the territory. But the question for you is this. I want you to answer this question between now and next time we come together next week. How is it that I'm faking in my relationship? What is it that I'm doing? How is it that I'm showing up? It's really not who I am. It's not me representing the best of what I know. I'm really not keeping it 100. My partner really doesn't know what I really feel. I really avoided certain areas and certain conversations because I just don't want the drama. I don't know what that is for you. But if nothing else, I hope that tonight has raised your vibration and helped you to be able to see that, you know what, there's some things that I can do differently that my partner cannot do. There are some ways that I can show up that they can't show up. There are some gifts that I have and some truths that I have that may irritate and agitate and may not resonate with them, but that's all right, because I'm supposed to be who I am as long as I'm paying attention to my delivery, as long as I'm paying attention to my tone and my timing, as long as I'm paying attention to my own personal development and growth, and I'm not just focused on what I want. If you're doing that, you won't get it 100 all the time. You won't get it 100 most of the time. But if you are focused, then you will absolutely reach more and more success in your relationship because you have the right mind about it. I don't know why you're looking at me like that, but you'll have the right mind about it. So pay attention. And I want you to be able to come back next week and say, what is it that you wasn't being really real with? You know what? The sex ain't hitting. It's been off for the last 5 years. And I've been not saying something about this relationship, this sexual relationship, because I don't want to hurt your feelings. And I can't do that no more because I love you and I want us to be better. I know we can do better, but we can't do better. We cannot change what we will not acknowledge. You know what? This communication is funky. And I'm tired of trying to figure out how to walk on eggshells with you. I got to be real about that. It's difficult, and I don't want to do that anymore. It's frustrating. I love you. I know we can do better, but we can't do this no more. Your children do not give me the respect that I need. Your mother is a hot mess, and you don't handle that. So I have to deal with that. What is your truth that you're not sharing with your partner in some way, shape, form, or fashion? So that's the question for you to ask, because you don't have to keep it locked up. In fact, the more you do that, you go another day and another day doing that, you are a disservice to your own relationship and to your own personal development and growth. So pay attention to where it is you are not being completely authentic. And trust this, you will not be able to be a truth teller to your partner if you're not a truth teller with yourself. You have to tell yourself the truth. And you got to pay attention to what we said earlier. I love this. And we're going to end on this. Truth is like a surgery. It hurts, but it cures. Lies, they're like a painkiller. It gives instant relief, but has side effects forever. Stop faking in your relationship. Come as your 100% authentically true self. And the more you get into the practice of doing that, the more you elevate your relationship. And all that you all will continue to grow as partners, or your partner to come for those of you who are getting ready. We hope that this has been of help to you tonight. We hope that you got something from it. But my God, speak your truth. Speak your truth. And when you don't do that, you mess up in so many ways. So just tell the truth. It's hard, but it's simple. But you can't do that if you don't.
Stop playing, y'all.
Yes.
And start pushing.
Start pushing. Peace, y'all.
All right, peace.